Hey, what up guys, and welcome to another episode of Creased. Now, outside of the Off-White 50 dunks, there really hasn't been much happening in the world of sneakers. Maybe it just feels like that because I'm still locked down. So what I thought I'd do is kind of like a volume 2 to my biggest sneaker fails, but these are ones that I never actually got. So these here were a collab between a bunch of different graffiti artists and Adidas originals. I personally never saw them in the shop. Maybe the Stan Smith, but never really been a thing for me. Years later, I find them on eBay. And for a steal, I think for like 50 bucks, right? The Cope 2 joints, man, I was so stoked. And I'm waiting and time goes by and it says they're delivered, and then I realize I've moved within the last time I used eBay and now, and they've been delivered to my old address. So they vanished. So I paid 50 bucks, probably shipping as well, for these Adidas Cope 2 joints. Never got them. eBay was like, well, you didn't change your address, and I'm like, well, fail. Another time I actually bought a pair of Air Max 1s from a dude I knew on Facebook. I think again it was like 50, 60 bucks, maybe 70. These were like a yellow joint, and man, they looked fire. I was so stoked because I think at the time I was probably a little bit broker than a lot broker than what I am now. So a new pair of kicks for me at that price was dope. And they were delivered, but where I was living at the time was a bit sketchy, and there was like a caravan park next door, and man, someone must have ganked them for real. But you see here, I think these are them here. They're fire. Now another one here I didn't actually purchase, so in that regard I'm not out of pocket. It's not an L in that regard, but I saw these in at Foot Locker, and this is probably before I knew what they were. These were called the Carpet 3s, I think. So they were Jordan 3, which is one of my favorite silhouettes, but I think the carpet thing threw me off and I just couldn't work out what they were. I tried them on, I liked them, but I wasn't sure, and I'm like, I'll come back. They'll be there. They'll sit. You know, Newcastle things don't sell out like that, and lo and behold, I believe they were probably a return because I never saw them again. Someone told me, you know, months later or whatever, they were sitting at the outlets, but I never seen them there. And now, for whatever reason, they're reselling for crazy amounts. So, big old fail. Another Jordan 3, and I missed out on the original Tinker joint. They're impossible to get. Hindsight, I probably don't like them as much as this one, but they were sitting on Foot Locker for so long that I was like, hey, maybe they're gonna go on sale. Maybe I'll get them for a steal. And I just noticed, and then like they weren't going on sale. So I was like, alright, let's get them. And I don't know if you remember this, but like it would show sizes, but you got to check out and they weren't actually there. It was like a glitch in their system. It happened for a while. Don't know if it still happens now, but I missed out on them, and then months later they came back and I was like, oh man, it must be a return, whatever. Resellers couldn't sell them and I couldn't get it. And then End had them on there, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to pay that little bit more because of the price difference. And they didn't have my, then I left it, and then they didn't have my size, and then they're now being resold for crazy amounts. I think like 300 used. So big old fail. But the biggest fail of them all, I've actually mentioned this a couple times, but I went into Vinny's one day and got the shock of my life. I saw a pair of Jordan 1 Chicago. They're either Chicago or Black Toe. I can't remember. I've tried to black this out. I don't want to remember this shit. But they were sitting there, and I gotta check the size. It's a size 10. It's my size. So I'm like, alright, they only take cash. They don't do card at this time. And I was like, I was doing some shit with work, and I was like, alright, I'll come back. They're like, you want us to hold them for you? And I was like, no, I'll come back in like a couple of hours. I didn't come back in a couple of hours. I came back in a day, and they were gone. Now, from what I saw, they were pretty beat. There was a bit of wear in them, but it's still dope. It's crazy. It's a crazy find. They were also only $10. So a pair of Jordan 1s for $10. I'll never live that down, I'm telling you. Like, we found some cool buys, you know, recently with the Vinny stuff. I haven't actually got around to putting it on eBay. I may have sold the Dunks without eBay. A female friend hit me up and was like, hey, do you know where I can get these? And I'm like, actually, I have a pair of those. But yeah, that I still kick myself, man, because even if they were beat, the sole had a fair bit of wear in them, and I've got Jordan 1s there that, you know, I've worn quite a lot that didn't have this amount of wear on them. For that reason, I was hesitant as well. But then I was like, nah, I've got to do it because it's $10. And they weren't there. So, that's another batch of my biggest sneaker fails. Let us know in the comments down below. What's your biggest sneaker fail? Did you get coerced by like some really good stock images, and then when you get it in hand, you're like, what is this? Maybe you had some shit stolen from the front porch. Let us know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll come back with another episode of Creased. Peace.